stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open doors, spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing. Every thought becomes so clear. From sea tunes and bubbling streams, waking up to brand new dreams. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open doors, spilling thoughts forevermore.
Well, good morning, guys. How are you doing? It's Saturday. I got to tell you, yesterday I thought it was Thursday all day, and it was just throwing me off. I had some people out of the office, and I could feel the difference. I don't know about you guys. How did this week feel for you? Good morning. Good morning. I want to take a minute. I'm going to drink some water because for some reason I'm getting feedback from my mouth. So pause 1 second. I will be right back. I hate to do this to you guys, but I would hate to have the sound. Hold on. Okay. Be right back. Hold on. Okay. I think we're better. Oh my goodness. I have misophonia, and if I was freaking myself out, I could only imagine you guys in the audience who might be listening with the same condition. So good morning, friends. Listen, I'm seeing so many of you pop up. You know, it's nice to see you. What are you drinking? What do you got in your cup this morning? Are you drinking coffee? Do you have water? I grabbed a Coke thinking it was the right thing to do at 6 a.m. Why not? I'm like 5, right? It's cool. But it wasn't. I went back to the hydration. Yeah, we're going back to water. So good morning. Listen, if you're new to the show, I'm sorry that I'm a chaotic little bunny who's going to kind of jump around all the time. But at the end, I pull the string. It comes together in a tight little bow for you to have documented, taken notes on, right? thought about, process, maybe put some to-do list items on your own list today, just to evolve. That's the point of being here. If you're not actually doing anything with what you're hearing, what's the point? It's cool if you just assess for a while. Definitely love assessment. It is an important part of the phase, but at some point you got to act, right? So if you want to learn more about why I believe in that documentation, assessment, and then action, go to the website, documentandact.com. You'll learn more about me. You'll find some planners. I have one for coffee chats. As a matter of fact, I have the show, but I've also been a salesperson my entire career. And so I know the value of a 15-minute conversation over a cup of joe. And I know the important facets to cover while I have 15 minutes of your time, which may be the only time in my whole life I get this moment. So if you want to be able to strategize like I did to grow to where I am, go check out the journal, go check out the planner. If you want to just learn directly from me, hey, you can go check out my prices. So enough of the pitching. We're not here necessarily for that, but hey, if you want to find me, I got to tell you where to do it, right? So Aaron says this week was cray, so much traveling. Yeah, I'm a little jealous of this man's life. I'm not going to lie. If you haven't seen him on TikTok, you'll see reels of him just kind of living the dream, hanging out in a hot tub. Yes, he does training, and yes, he has to improve the masses for his company, which is great. That's what most leaders do. But he also gets a little spoiled. They give him a daily stipend to go eat, and he does a good job with it. So go check him out. Jay says, hey, Melissa, it's Mother's Day weekend. Sorry to remind you. Thank you so much. I am missing my mom, but at the same time, Jay, something I learned to do was spoil my mother's daughter the way she would want to on that day. So I intend fully to celebrate my mother, to think about all of the wonderful Mother's Days that I probably should have done a little more, and give my kid grace if I don't feel like they're doing it all, because really, we're all just humans, right? And I keep thinking maybe the beach, some crayons, some music, a big floppy hat is in my future. Water and protein shake. Lauren Sermon, I'm so proud of you. Does that mean you're actually, look, Lauren's a go-getter. She called me and she's like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm like, oh, you don't have to. I'm the worst motivator for gym. I'm the anti-gym friend. Don't call me at 4 or 5 a.m. and tell me you want to get out and start moving, because I'm going to giggle at you. I'd rather be sitting here going live. But if you haven't checked out Lauren Sermon, go do that. She does live events too, and she's pretty fantastic. So guys, let's get into this, right? The premise of the show today, if you dove in even a little bit, was kind of just making sure that we're checking in where we're at all times, right? That assessment part of it all. If you're not paying attention to what you're doing and your actions and how they work, eventually you can do things you don't mean to do, or repeat processes you didn't mean to repeat. And, we're all striving for change. That's why we're here, right? It's not a secret. We're all not happy with the status quo, or we are happy with the status quo and we want others to be happier in their status quo. And so I just want to, cover that. What does it look like when you're successful? I started thinking about what success might mean. I actually had this conversation recently about somebody with somebody who's not from the United States. And they said that they don't plan to retire here. They came to hang for a while, do some things, live, the American dream. But reality is they don't like the hustle culture that we have. It's like, hurry, 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 go, 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 go. And the way this person stated it, they said, then you finally get to be 65 or 70, and then you're allowed to slow down and figure out what you want to do with your life, the few moments you have left. And I was like, whoa, that's a little harsh, right? In my brain, I didn't say it out loud. I was just listening, because I'm not here to tell her she was wrong, but I'm listening to understand perspective. And what I realized was that's a perspective from a young mind that is kind of devastating in some ways, right? And so I wanted to stop, pause, and assess and go, hey, what's going on here? Why does it feel like we're making change? We want to improve, but reality is everything I've ever heard, seen, or done in front of me to make success happen can be easily undone with the pull of one string, right? The lottery winner who has this life-changing win, that kind of money that everybody is just praying for. Let's be honest. Drop an emoji, give me a money sign, give me a a symbol, something, money, right? To let me know if you'd like to win the lottery. Be honest. Drop one for me, somebody. Say this is Melissa's money sign, because I would like to. But I've been thinking about those lottery winners who end up poor. They lose it. And I started to think about those actions, right? As a coach, we repeat a lot of our same systems to be successful, but we do it also to be detrimental to ourselves. Me repeatedly refusing to get out of bed to go to the gym, like Lauren Sermon will. Maybe we overspend, right? Maybe last year we made $50,000. Next year we make $100,000, but we always spent 90% of our income. And so while we might save some, if maybe we always spent 110% of our income. So it doesn't matter what we make because we're always overspending, right? Maybe we get to that place we said we want to be, and then the old habits kick in. I started to think about the different patterns, and money is a big one for humans, right? You really have to assess to figure this out, though. How many of you assess your habits? How do you move from today's habits into tomorrow's, right? Like, how do you stop laying in your bed and then eventually get to the gym? How do you make that something bigger? I will give a shout out to Mike Phillips, the Marketing Muscle Gym. We kind of hung out for a long time. I was part of the founding members group. I'm still a member. I'm just not as active. I've been busier, and it's harder to make it work for me. But he used to talk about he had an injury and he couldn't work out, and it was driving him crazy. And so knowing he couldn't get to the gym upset him, but he would just slowly move his habits into the gym. First thing is like waking up at the time I'm supposed to go to the gym. And I'm going to mess up his story for sure. So go find him. I'm sure there's some content there. Somebody please tell him I told him about the story and he may find it for you. But he just kept moving closer to the gym. He would take a nap on the gym equipment, like just get to the gym equipment. And eventually his body was ready, right? It wasn't an overnight turn on the switch. I go from a couch potato to a star athlete. But it was slow steps all the time, right? That small bites finish big meals. However, how do you track that stuff? For me, I love to see in bullet points. I've talked about having color codes. That's why I like colors a lot in my systems, right? Even at work, I can look at a chart and tell by the color on the chart whose name is affiliated with that thing. And so everybody kind of has a color. If you use a highlighter, somebody knows, ooh, that's so-and-so's note. Right? It's really effective. It also is effective in my planner. And so when I look at my habits, I could do a 30-day. I might have a green dot in this corner, an orange dot in that corner, a yellow dot in this corner, and they all mean something else. Now, to start, guys, make sure you create a key at the top of the calendar for yourself, right? Get used to the habit until you can tie it into something relevant. But I've talked about it before. Even my husband and I having arguments was something that I had started just hitting the button on because I wanted to know what day it was, right? Like, is there a habit to why we fight? And it became very clear after I started documenting when those moments of stress started to seep in, like when I was feeling overwhelmed. And what I realized was that I was always working a few days in a row right before it would happen, right? We both had been working to the max capacity that week. Maybe we haven't had a date in a while. Maybe somebody didn't feel good and we had been further apart for longer, right? But I started to see the things that would create the moment that I didn't want to create anymore. And so don't just celebrate and track the wins, right? Not just the contracts, but what about the bad days? Like, hey, I almost got in a car accident today. Why? Do you know why you did it? Was your phone in your hand? Were you trying to comment on my live stream while you were driving? Because you should totally not be doing that. If you're driving, put your phone away. But really, like, if you can start to figure out where your bad days happen, maybe you just lose your temper. Maybe you get road rage. What is that thing? Maybe you broke your diet. Right? When is your cheat day? Is there a habit to that? Is it always when you hang out with Bob? Maybe you need to move your time with Bob to a different location or a different kind of activity, right? So start assessing those things and then figure out how to navigate the patterns you can't control. Let's say Bob is your boss and it's a Friday meeting and you can't avoid it and they lock you in for lunch and you can only eat what they serve you. Maybe it's the holidays. Anybody have a habit of getting into it with their family around the holidays, or people apprehensive about going into the room because we always know that one family member is going to do that one thing that they always do and it's going to make everybody upset, and you could write the story right now, right? You could do it. You don't even have to play it. We're going to skip this year because I know what's going to happen. How do you change that? Because I kind of gave it away. We're going to skip this year is an option that I took. When my family was creating the same chaos within itself, I took a break. When my relationship with friends was creating chaos, right? You remember the 20s, guys? Anybody have a chaotic 20s with their friends, maybe on a Friday, Saturday night? And then you didn't feel yourself for a day or two. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those are things we could control. But when you think about it, sometimes those relationships we can't. Sometimes it is the business meeting where your boss expects you to match drink for drink. Let's have a conversation. But here, oh, you're not keeping up. I've heard this conversation. Have you? And so how would you navigate it? Do you have a plan? Because you are not required to drink in business unless you are a sommelier or something, right? Where you have to savor the flavor. Mr. Ken Dunner, I'm thinking of you, right? I see savor the flavor and I said sommelier, so I got to say it. But thinking about that, right? Thinking about how you can control the things you can't, even if it's just yourself saying, no, thank you, I'm driving. No, thank you. I wake up early. No, thank you. I'm going to the gym in the morning. These are things you have to figure out. Maybe Aunt Patty, Aunt Becky, Aunt Susie, Uncle Bob is always going to be somebody who wants to bring up that one thing nobody wants to talk about. Maybe politics at the family gathering, right? When you know what to expect, it gives you control of the situation. You can tell mom, hey, why don't you tell Uncle Bob it starts at 2, even if it starts at 1, or say, hey, Bob, why don't you arrive at 2? And that's when we're going to have the second wave of guests coming. The first round are going to help us set up. And then the people who don't want to see Bob can leave at 2, right? If you can get clear in your boundaries and set them and explain them with clarity to others, like, I don't want to disrespect your brother, Mom, so I'm going to leave when he gets here, but I'm happy to come hang out, spend some time. I'll take you to breakfast beforehand. I'll help you do the shopping and cooking. I'll spend some time, but then I have to leave. Right? And that's fair, guys. Clarity is control. Think about your business situation. No, I promised my wife I would be up early in the morning. Maybe you did. Maybe you say, no, thank you. I choose not to drink. Right? So think about what it is you're trying to alleviate in your life. And then think about ways you can do it. Setting boundaries does not have to be mean. There are lots of ways to set boundaries. As a coach, I tell people to be bubbles, right? Be in your own circle, float around. If you feel something getting too sharp, you don't want to be near it, just back away, right? No bubble wants to be near a sharp edge. In the same way that no bubble should be a sharp edge. You should just bounce off each other. If you're two bubbles kind of, oh, excuse me, yep. And some of those bubbles, you'll see them, right? They just kind of suck into each other. Have you seen it? That overlap? That's why I love bubbles. They're a Venn diagram in life. And they show real, almost human behavior where some of them cluster together. Some just get big and go out on their own and float away. It's kind of cool. So what kind of bubble do you want to be? Do you want to cluster up? What does it look like? What does your group look like? Using growth to overlap instead of spiraling. Listen, I know a lot of people talk about this kind of stuff. I loved this kind of visual, right? You can have the networking. I always think about circles, that the Olympic rings, I think, were the first time I ever saw unity in that way. As a kid, my mom was a big fan of the Olympics. We especially liked the tumbling and any of the rings and the horses and all of that stuff, right? Like just the gymnast they were some of our favorites. And so anyway, back to the rings, lots of color, lots of fun, lots of unity, right? Everybody getting along, all these different countries. It was cool. And then I think about kind of like the spiral effect and what does that represent for me, right? And when I see a spiral, this is it. It's like Hurricane Al, and then Hurricane Bob, and Charlie and David. And listen, it's always the worst. It's a tornado. It's never fun. It's never fun. And so really, are you spiraling or are you stacking, right? And you don't want to really be in the spiral mode. I don't mind spinning in a circle. As a matter of fact, if you're stressed out, I recommend you spin in your office chair 3 times really fast. It's really hard to be angry when you start to spin like that. Try it. Just see. It's like your inner kid activates. Maybe it's just the 80s kids that were allowed to spin themselves in a circle on toys. Like they used to fling us off even, the little whirly swirly. Did anybody have that chair? Just me. But I really like, which one more defines your life right now? If you had to tell me which segment, right or left, are you clear with overlapping segments of your life that you know how each piece fits, you know where it fits, you know time management wise, it's all kind of clean, concise, and connected. You're doing this with your networking as well and your people on LinkedIn or wherever you're playing, right? In business, in your team, this is exactly what it looks like on the left, just clean. Or is it kind of maybe a little bit more like the other one sometimes? And you're just in this, like, I'll be honest, a day in retail sometimes can feel like that one on the right. Think Black Friday. I don't care how good you are at your job. I don't care what kind of experience you have as a shopper. It's more of that right side on Black Friday, right? We've seen it on the news. And so, guys, I see some of these comments. Let me just address them real quick. I will drop the link to join soon. I don't want to do it yet because then I'm worried I'm going to have to monitor like who's trying to come, and that's going to throw me off a little ADHD. But I'm so glad that you guys are here, and I'm just going to kind of push into some of these comments real quick. You guys can read them. Jeremy, welcome. I'm so grateful you invited some people. Guys, there's still tons of time. Invite them. This show is going for another hour and a half. And it's cool for Team Replay, right? They can find us later. It's totally cool. All right. So let's talk about it. Which one are you? You should be catching up by this time and letting me know where you're at. So if I'm in a bubble, it's the picture on the right. Oh, there it is. Okay. David caught up and said, sit and spin. That was the name of the toy. Thank you. Listen, the 80s were wild. It was great. It was great. Ken, I'm not showing my face at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. To be honest with you, I don't want to set anybody up for that because number one, that's not the way I've done my show. I still don't want to do my show this way. And number two, I get ready while I do my show. I'm actually preparing, and you don't need to see me to get the message, but I appreciate you wanting to see me. I'm in a picture or two. It's coming. There are assets, my face, live video, me on the move on YouTube. Go find it. Not right now because we're on a show, but soon. Guys, another thing to assess. What are your relationships really reflecting? When you think about who you love, who you don't love, and or why, what is it telling you? Like, I mean, I know what you think about Karen, okay? We all have an opinion on Karen. And Karen, if you're listening, I'm so sorry they took your name and did what they did. But from a marketing standpoint, everybody has an opinion on that word, that name, that term. Now, are you a Karen in somebody's life? Are you hoping for support from a Karen in your life and not getting it? Why are they a Karen? What makes them? What defines them as a Karen? Is it that they're not doing it your way? Is it that they're making you do it their way? If this was a Venn diagram, are you guys overlapping? And is it by force? with a sharp edge. You will be my kind of bubble. Or is it like, hey, come here. I want to curl up with you and become this little bubble village, right? You've seen it. Slow pushes of air into this bubble village creates this stream of overlapping bubbles, hugging each other, keeping it together. You can also see a mob mentality. We talked about it, Black Friday. For me, this is my favorite, right? This was such a cute little way to say, this is who I want to be when I grow up. Right? This is who I want to be. I want people to be excited to sit next to me, to move in close. Do you see the little arm around the shoulder like, hey, bud? When I think about Mr. Rogers and the PBS effect and, even Betty White, I can just always imagine she had an arm, a hand out. Like the puppies always ended up in her arms, right? Like that's the Betty White effect. That's the effect I want to have. And so in your life, who are you to be, or like, who are you for others, right? Who are you being for others? And if they're not being this for you, why do you feel they owe that to you? One, sometimes it's perspective, right? I have seen people in news, let's just talk about news articles where so-and-so didn't buy a secured ticket, but demanded the seat because they wanted it for their purposes, right? Or, hey, I don't have a reservation, but I demand to be seated. And I don't know why I would act that way, but if I'm acting that way, people are probably not going to move into this little picture, right? This is not the vibe I'm bringing to that environment with my demand. Now, seeing a parent struggling with a child who's on her lap, needs the window, and I'm in the window and she's not, I can offer that seat, right? Maybe somebody's struggling with their overhead bin. I can help them with that and create this kind of vibe. Maybe somebody forgot their bag in the bathroom. They were just pulling 6 things of luggage and they were fixing their face and whatever, and they forgot that one piece on the sink, and you just go, ma'am, excuse me. That's that vibe. Let me pay for the car behind me. Don't tell them. Right? What are those small things you do in your office to bring them close? What are those things you do at home, your friends, your network, right? Things to think about and assess, guys, because when we change our patterns, we expect our life to change, right? I have a new job now. I have a new this. I have a new that. And that doesn't mean people will necessarily treat us different or see us different or believe us to be any different. If we believe ourselves to be different, we have to portray that without expecting immediate gratification, right? And sometimes parents don't see it. I tell my kid, I feel so bad, but when I was explaining the evolution of my teenage years, I told him that I was pushing so hard to become a teenager, right? When I was 9, all I wanted was double digits. And then when I got double digits, all I wanted to be was a 13-year-old. And then when I became a 13-year-old, my next big push was I want a learner's permit and then a driver, right? And 16, getting a car. 18, I wanted to be old enough to be an adult. And truth be told, I told my son when he turned 18, I was like, I was an idiot, son. I don't know anything about anything at 18. I didn't know anything. I thought I did. I knew what I knew, and I was pretty evolved for 18. But I do have to say, I didn't feel like an adult. And I told him at 21, I still didn't feel like an adult because the people around me didn't consider me an adult. I was still a young kid who was out at the club. And it was a fact. I was at Melissa Can Dance. And I had fun. Now, I was still being responsible, but I was in my 20s. And if you guys know a 20-year-old, I'm sure there is an automatic thought that pops in your head. Maybe there is some drinking. Maybe there is some partying. Maybe you have that college scenario in your brain and that whatever college movie you've seen, whether it was Dead Poet Society or, Animal House or something crazy, you have that image pop immediately. And so what I told my son was, I didn't even feel like a grown up until I was 25. It felt like when I hit 25, people took me seriously. And I don't know if it was when I took myself more seriously or if it was just because I had hit a point in my life where I seemed more serious. But I had evolved my whole life as a serious human. Being homeless at 13 the first time, I was pretty much a grown up really young, right? Dropping out of high school to care for a grandparent full time. That's a grown up mentality. That's something that not every child, nobody should have to, but not every child would even consider doing, let alone want to do. And so just having that perspective of, even though I felt ready and I was taking on so much adult responsibility, I was still not treated as such. And so how did I fix that? I had conversations, not you should treat me this way and throw a temper tantrum, stomp my feet and demand it. But to say, hey, listen, why is it I'm grown up enough for you to trust me with your father, but not to trust me with this decision? And you know what, guys, when you can have conversations like that, it is impactful, but I said it in a respectful tone because my grandma would have killed me. But I needed to stand my ground and I didn't want to hurt the relationship. But my reality was like, let's perspective check real quick. Why is it you do trust me with somebody who you say is the most important person in your life? Like growing up, he was the one person who always made sure you were okay. And you trust me with him, but not to make a decision for myself. Silly, right? And she actually giggled at me. She's like, you're right. Don't ever talk to me like that again. And I laughed, right? Because I was very respectful and she was joking too. It was her kind of diffusing the situation, but it was beautiful to be able to set that boundary, have the respect. The rule we had together was, I will always hear you. I might not listen, but I will hear you out, right? So showing up differently in familiar spaces, that's an example. Telling my grandma, hey, no, wait a minute. I love you, but let's have this conversation a different way, right? Who do you have new conversations with? If you can't, if it always like every time I talk to so-and-so, it always ends up like this. Write down the steps. You already know how it works because it always ends up that way. What is the process? If I'm always fighting with my spouse on Friday, what is always happening on Thursday to get us to finally boil over? What about at work? What about with a customer cycle, guys? This is very business-based also. We look at business on a quarterly and annual basis most often, right? To really review and see how we're doing. And are you checking in with your customer base? What are their cycles looking like? Are you always in crunch time in December and everybody's behind and you're always short on orders? And I'll be honest, guys, right now it's really hard to talk about orders being on time. There's a lot going on, but typically, right? Let's just keep it on course for over time, 100 years. Typically, demand goes up for toys and whatever in certain seasons. If you know that, and there's always a shortage, and there is a way to navigate early, maybe bulk purchases in spring, double down on things will always sell the year before, make sure you're prepared, right? If you don't do that, what happens? You repeat the cycle, right? And then you have customers who are like, every December you run out of my product. Every December we go through this, right? If the customers can see the patterns you don't see, you're in trouble. So get that feedback, show up different, ask for feedback from the family, do a family meeting. Do you guys ever do that? What does it look like for you to show up in the same spots? Work. Let's talk about work. Trying to change your diet when you're at work, right? Those Friday meetings where lunch is purchased. There are ways to navigate that, guys. You can ask your boss, hey, could we alternate what we eat? Maybe can we try a new spot this week and make a recommendation of something a little bit healthier, right? You can bring your own lunch. Say, I'm sorry, I'm on a strict diet, so I didn't want to be a bother. I brought my own lunch today, right? You can show up different if you want to change the patterns in places you can't control. It's the difference of overlapping with your team versus spiraling. I'm not going to change my boss's lunch habits on a Friday. I probably won't ever. And honestly, I could try. I could lead by example. I could make the suggestion of maybe diversifying and show him a new, healthier way to eat. But if he loves his, special Friday meal because it's his special Friday meal for a reason far beyond what we understand, maybe grandpa did it every Friday also. We don't want to cut his bubble, right? No bursting his. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is show up differently for ourselves and explain that we're doing it for us. And so what would you like to change? What are those things that you're maybe saying are other people's responsibilities in your life? Like, my boss never buys the right food. I'm always eating bad on Friday because it's my boss's fault. I am the worst boss in the world if you're on a diet. I buy my team food all the time. My assistant manager loves a good Hershey cream pie from Burger King. And if you buy her one, she's actually a little sad because she really wants to. And honestly, I give her that little thing, she beams, she bounces, she's happy, she's seen. And it's something small. And so if you're a boss and your team goes, hey, I would love to try this new restaurant on Friday next week, instead of, maybe you get Uber Eats to bring you your favorite meal and you get them to have what they want, right? There is a way to do this. That's what I like about a good Venn diagram, is you guys can kind of meet in the middle, and it can take turns. You can, this week, this one's on top. This week, the other circle floats to the back, and the new color moves forward. But do you have an assessment? Are you paying attention? Are you moving so fast that you can't even tell what's going on? Because genuinely, that's what I see happen in business. Business leaders, high-level business executives who are really good at executing, all of a sudden, just like not 100%, just something's not clicking. It's like when you're riding in your car and all of a sudden you just hear that clink, 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 and you're like, what is that? Make sure you're assessing your life. What's clinking at you? What isn't working? What is always like just a little bit off? You always just forget to set the reminder. You always, oh man, I always forget the milk at the store. Why do I do that? Right? What is it and how can you fix it? If you always forget the milk at the store, the very first thing on the list should be milk, and then you better shop fast, right? Maybe you set a reminder. And if you know you're always grocery shopping at 6 because you get off at 5, it takes you 45 minutes to get to the store, 15 minutes of playing on your phone, maybe here or there. When you're in the store, it's going to go, boom, get milk. And you do it right then. Or you set snooze and let it do it when you get closer. And you don't dismiss the alarm until you've done it. Maybe you have a friend who you keep on the phone and go, hey, I'm going to the store. Make sure I get milk. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go check out now. No. Did you get the milk? Because I don't know if Lauren's still here, but there have been times where I was on the phone with her and she's like, okay, don't let me forget my this. Don't let me forget my this. And so I'm like, okay, did we get the charger? Did we get the this? And it's so funny. But guys, if you're multitasking, especially if you're hanging out with a friend on a phone or a coach or a client or whoever, I don't care who it is. I've told my client, hey, don't let me forget this for you, because I will. And if you let me forget it, we're going to have to call each other again. And I don't want to forget, but my brain's somewhere else. And they laugh at me. And then they remind me because they need that outcome. Right? And so make sure you're setting your boundaries. Be honest. Be human. You are not perfect. You don't have to know it all. Don't say, I don't know to every question, but you can say, I don't know. Let me find out. Follow up with that action, right? I'm not sure, but let me look into it. And even right now, if you're not answering these questions that I asked, like, what do you want to work on? What isn't working in your life? What are those things that you can control versus not? What patterns are you doing? Even in your finances, guys, do you have a spreadsheet? I do. This is one of those things I'm going to give away for free. Usually I charge you for this one, but very easy. Red, yellow, green lights. Okay. Red is that stuff you can't get rid of. It's that forever drain on your finances that will be just a pain. Maybe insurance for one, right? That's one of those things you're always going to need it. Always. And you can't get rid of it, can't cut it. You might reduce the rate, but it's always there. Mortgage or rent, utilities, food, gas, that kind of stuff, right? That's the red zone. Yellow zone. That's the stuff that's not really a need, but it's a need. Like I could live without Wi-Fi. Technically, I have cell phone service. I could hotspot, but the house is happier streaming Netflix, right? It is. Having Wi-Fi is a yellow thing. It's, hey, could we stop it if we had to? Sure, but we don't want to. Leave it alone. Warning, we like this. And so I have my Netflix, my Amazon, whatever it is in that yellow zone. Maybe the gym membership, right? You could walk, but you prefer to go use the treadmill at the gym because of the experience and the mindset you get when you walk through the door. And that's totally valuable. You got to put that there. Once you get through your yellows, those things, the Costco memberships, all of it, guys, think about everything you pay for and what it matters, doesn't matter, and why it matters and what you do with it. And then green, the stuff that could go at any time, the stuff you absolutely don't need. Some people would call pedicures, like that kind of thing, a yellow. Like, I don't want to get rid of it. That's self-care. I need it. Others are like, no, I could just paint my toenails. Like, it's still self-care for me to do it myself. Right? Maybe you go to a movie every week and instead you decide to stay at home and just make your own popcorn. You're not missing it. If you're not missing it, it's a green, it's cool, it can go. Right? Maybe it's Uber Eats, you go pick it up versus have it delivered, those little things. So get clear on it. And then when it hits the fan, whatever hits the fan, when you need to figure out where you are in your life, you'll have a spreadsheet of action. You'll be able to have it auto sum for you. So you could see your income, you could see what you're spending, you can kind of keep eyeballs on it. But then if you're not liking what you see, you have a quick way to assess and address, right? All the green stuff can go right away. I can save all this money if I get rid of. Sometimes that looks like a second, third vehicle. Maybe it's, having multiple versions of the same thing in the garage. A motorcycle, for example. Some of my customers have 9 or 10 bikes. If they needed to get money quickly, they could, right? That's an option. And so just being able to know what you have in your toolbox, whether it's financially, emotionally, mentally, like what happens if it hits the fan in a room and what would you do in chaos? And you can figure out what that chaos looks like. You know what your biggest fear might be, but do you have a way through it? What if it hits the fan at the family event? What's the emergency exit at grandma's house? Who's going to block the door while you get out or whatever? Like who's got your back while you grab the kids? Those are things that if you, even jokingly, you have a plan, you have your sister who goes, hey, as soon as she starts, I'm going to give you that look and you're going to leave. Or, hey, if I see you start to get edgy and you're not a bubble, I'm going to give you eyeballs, right? And if you have a partner, some accountability, it helps. Now, guys, I'm getting ready to share this soon so you can join the conversation and join the stage. But just remember that repeating the process, it takes time to become good, right? Nobody starts at the Olympics. You don't just tie your shoelaces up, get on a track, and all of a sudden you're running for the gold, representing your country at the highest degree, right? That's not how it works. But if you slowly work on this, first Friday, you change your lunch. When I quit smoking, I used to be a smoker, guys. In 2015, I decided to quit smoking in April. So it's been a decade just over. And I just remember the best way for me was having accountability, making sure that what habits I had that made me want to smoke, I skipped. So I used to love to go to lunch with a coworker of mine, and he led a different division of the company that I was working for. I was doing backgrounds. He was in the staffing that I had formerly done. And we were just, I don't know, it was always like a mastermind. We just kind of hung out, spoke business, talked sales, talked approaches, and just different things. It was really cool. It kind of reminds me of what we do here, right? But I was doing it at lunch. However, we would sit and do it as smokers. We were smoking together. And now I can't even fathom. Like my mouth is just like, ugh, why? But back then, that's what I did. And the way I stopped it was I skipped lunch. Said, hey, I would love to go with you, but I can't because I know what's going to happen. People say, Smoking after you were eating was a trigger for them. So finding something to do after, having gum, having a mint, having a glass of water, or taking a shower immediately after dinner, different things that changed what I was doing immediately after, so I didn't just sit there and think about it. Spending habits. Friday, ooh, it's payday. What's the first thing I want to buy, right? How many of us get a paycheck and immediately know what we're spending it on? How many of us immediately know how much we're saving? Those are the differences, right? If you don't want to be the lottery winner who blows through their lottery winnings, change your mindset to what percentage goes immediately into the piggy bank. Who's going to hold you accountable? Do you have a friend who you can just text and go, hey, I put $10 in my savings. Hey, I put $100 in my travel fund. Hey, I totally paid down my credit card extra by 10% this month. None of it is really something you have to keep to yourself. None of it's bragging too much, right? Unless you really can't save. And then, it might feel like that to some, but that's not your friend. That's not the accountability partner you want to use for that purpose, right? And so commit to yourself. Make sure you're writing it down. If you make that deposit, put it on the calendar. Get that little green dot for yourself. I deposited money today into my savings. And every time Friday comes, you should see that green dot in the corner. Anytime you spend money without meaning to, go back and mark a red dot in the other corner. Soon you're going to start seeing a pattern of dots, and eventually all you have to do is focus on what color scheme you want in your planner. Because at the end of the year, if you have way more red dots than green, you've not done well, right? Typically speaking, we're in trouble if we're not saving time, money, energy. I don't care what it is you're tracking. All right. So guys, I'm getting to the point where I am going to open up the show. I'm opening up my LinkedIn. I'm sure there's been some DMs. If you want to join, now's the time to come ask me. I will be sharing the link. Just send me a message and I will drop it to you here shortly. So as far as building momentum, accountability, and commitment, right? What are those to-do lists looking like these days? Truthfully, we've talked about it. You guys probably know I love my 3-list system. If you're new to listening, I'm going to cover it very quickly. But I have 3 lists at all times. Today, within the next 24 hours, has to happen, right? This week, next 7 days, maybe I have plans to clean the garage this weekend. Maybe I get an oil change this weekend, whatever it is, 7 days. And then after 8 days to 1,000,000 years from now, in the future, time traveling, right? Whatever. Cryogenics came to mind. Whatever it is, goes on that 3rd list. And if you just function on that kind of feeling every day, the cool part is today's list usually is 3 to 5 items is what I recommend, right? So 3 things to do. If you clean the garage, I got to tell you, there's going to be 10 other bullet points that pop up under that garage, because as soon as you open the door, you're going to see the list from that evolve, right? So be mindful. The bigger the bullet point on that day, the less bullet points you want to have, because they're going to produce more bullet points. We've talked about a business starting a new LLC as a new LLC. Get my LLC. It sounds easy, but then you find out, well, you need this, you need an EIN, you need a business insurance, and there's more bullet points, right? And so think about that. Be kind. Don't overwhelm yourself, because the great part about this list is if you get today's list done, you can always move into this week's list. So maybe you start with 1 bullet point a day just to get into the habit of checking today, this week, and after. But you can always move into this week. And so have a more robust this week and have a really robust 8 days and after, right? Because you can always tap into the future list. But you don't want to set yourself up to not execute the list today, because then that really hurts your mentality. It actually can become something where you're kicking yourself more than motivating, and it's the anti-motivation. You start getting down on yourself because you're not accomplishing that wonderful, beautiful to-do list that you're making. And so be careful. I always tell people, it's even on my website, I'm going to give you 3 to 5 actionable points to use in every coaching session. Even on the weekly, no more than 3 to 5, because I know every bullet point is going to have some heaviness to it, right? So be mindful. Don't overcommit yourself. This is new. You can't start running a 5-mile relay day one of running. Walk for a mile, right? Think about it. Then speed up your walk. What is, a slow jog of a mile? Get to your walking pace matching the slow jog. Can you do it? Because by the time you start really getting into that jog, you can lightly jog and still be just speed walking, and it's not going to feel like running, right? But then you can push yourself a little further and a little further. And then not today, but 8 days or after, you are in a marathon, right? You can be that person who crosses the finish line of anything you want, including that gold medal finish line, if you determine that's where you're going. And you got to do it early enough for some of these things, right? Because if I wanted to be a gold medalist today for my track start, I'm kind of out of the loop. I have arthritis. I'm a grandma. I am not going to make the trials. I think most of them are my daughter's age, right? But can I still try to run an Olympic setting speed at some point in my life? Probably, yes. What was the first one ever? Let me start there. I know they started somewhere. So where was the first one? The longest run? Give me that one and I will try to get there, right? And so you don't have to beat yesterday's top speed. You just have to beat your top speed, right? Or if you really want to shoot for the gold, shoot for the lowest of the gold. It's still gold. Right. And so you don't have to be the 3-minute mile runner if the first gold Olympian won at 5. Just set yourself up to win your way. Right. And then once you've placed gold, keep going. That Michael Phelps guy, right? Didn't he beat his own record a few times? So where are my friends? Let's see who's here. All right. Christine, I see you. Come on, guys. I'm opening up the session here. I don't usually do this very often anymore, which is fun. I want to get back into it. You guys have been so cool waiting because I was learning StreamYard. I was trying to get used to all of this fun stuff, right? And I didn't want to mess it up with you guys on the stage. And so I appreciate it. Even like Felipe and Jackie, I think, have been 2 of the people who have shown up here. And with knowing that I'm a mess and I'm already their co-host, I didn't mind if I hung up on them or ended it or forgot to add them to the stage like I did Jackie that one time, maybe 5 times. Anyway, guys, listen, I know you have been blowing up the comments. This one just caught my attention. Thanks, Jay. I feel like I can do anything too, except really I'm not going to apply myself to win the gold because it just sounds like too much work today. I don't want to do that. Now, a Michelin star maybe one day for a food truck. That could be cool. Maybe. Jay also said something this week I have to address, guys. He said that I should have an ice cream truck. And I got to tell you, that was a dream of mine for a while. I think you guys have even heard it in an audio event where I said as a retiree, I might just go around with the food truck and like a food truck or an ice cream truck and tell people, like give advice and just coach them. Right. And so I just love this. Guys, I really appreciate all the comments. Let me see. Jeremy, thank you. And I appreciate Kenny blowing up the comments. Listen. What is this? Kenya? I'm not doing this, Kenny. We're not doing Kenya. You're in timeout. Why did you guys not tag me? You're letting him do Kenya? No. Okay. So listen, with my garage, I'm lucky if I can open the door. Adrian, honesty. I appreciate it, right? We all have that closet or that drawer or that box. I have a few Doom boxes. I'm not going to lie. It's my favorite thing in the world. I also usually have a Doom pile of laundry that needs to be folded. Christina, I'm welcoming you to the stage. I see you popping up. Give me 1 second here. Don't set yourself up to fail with the to-do list. That's right, Jamie, because it's really sad, right? If you look at this list and you keep making lists and none of them get crossed off. And so give yourself grace. Definitely. Let's see. Only have 24 hours until I fly off again. That's cool, Aaron. Go spend time with the kiddo. Nick says short term and long term realistic goals. You already know it, man. Slow, slow, slow. Messy, but never a mess. Listen, my mom bought me a sign that said messy, missy, and we put it in my room. And I'll be honest, I sometimes I'm a chaotic little bunny. I've heard that the best people are. Christine, are you one of those people who really has to focus to maintain the the cleanliness of your space? Because I get these little doom piles all over my desk all day long.
Um, I'm gonna guess that you might know the answer to that question.
I
Yes,
didn't want to say
I
it for
am.
you.
I am. Yes, I am. Unfortunately, I'd like to think I have myself together, and I think I present myself that way at work. Like a lot of times, people think I'm buttoned up and my handouts and my PowerPoint is on point, but then I tell them there's a bunch of wet receipts at the bottom of my bag. It's not what you're. It's not everything is what is appears, but I've gotten a little better. But yes, my workspace, it's a yes, it's like that. I've got to think about it. I've got to, and I feel like I'm constantly having to clean it up. But if I just, that's probably a great area for me to work, because I'm temporarily working in my dining room and I'm driving my family crazy. So wow, that turned into a whole other thing. But yes, uh, another
It's one
thing
of
I got
those
to add
things,
to my
though, right?
list.
It is, but here's the thing, guys. You can't do it all at once. I swear to you, Einstein did not have a clean workspace all the time, right? All of the people who were the best inventors, they probably lost their wrench 5 times a day. They probably look for their glasses on their forehead, and that's okay. We can't be perfect, but if we move in what moves us, if we focus on the things we want to do, I don't care about
Mhm.
my messy desk as long as I can clear the space in time to get the laptop set up. And
Gotcha.
Christina, I found these little clear doom boxes at the hobby store, and they're 12 by 12 little click plastic storages. And I have like a makeup one now. I have my journal one,
Oh,
and it's
I like
helped,
that.
right? But I know this about myself, so I have doom boxes that I can move around, and they stack nicely under the desk.
Oh, I like that. That I'm stealing that. That's great. Um, yeah. Well, I guess I'll segue quick into what I was going to say. I love this conversation. I love everything you said today, and I definitely relate to a lot of it. I don't think you ever, can like contentment is a moving target. You can't, and you got to constantly work at it. And I even do a daily inventory every night, like what went well, what didn't, what do I need to do better, what did I accomplish, what didn't I accomplish. And I still need a lot of help and I still need to grow. And I'm like, thank God I started living like this because God knows, God knows where in the hell I would be at. But and sometimes I get off balance. Like I'm lately, and I do this a lot. Like, I just went to school last year and I just dumped everything I had into work and school. And I thought I'd have so much more time. But guess what I did? I started putting everything into work and working too many hours. And I don't know what happened. I tend to do stuff. It's a pattern. And then other things in my life slide, like my relationships. And, it's not good for it's just not good for anybody. And I'm really exhausted. And you were talking about your friend who was hurt and couldn't exercise. I haven't been doing any physical activity. I actually injured myself probably from lack of activity. And I have a physical next week. So I'm like, oh, thank God. But yeah, but I even like what you said, like to walk for 5 minutes or set things up so that you could, I might be able to tolerate walking for 5 minutes, but I did something to my leg and my knee. But I don't even know if I should be walking on it. But there's just so much that you said, but I'll keep it brief. As
Well, and
far,
Christine, I'm just going to say real quick for that, just
yes,
stretch.
yeah,
Before you walk, right?
yes,
That's what everybody tells you to do. So if you can't walk yet, do the stretching.
yeah. You know what? I jumped ahead. So good catch. Yes, I think just stretching is a stretch. So just to the point where it's comfortable, um, I'll do that. But I didn't want to leave out like how things can evolve. And I've had two family visits that were 2 weeks long recently, but due to people's illnesses and whatever. And they were pretty good. And I think it's because I kept my mouth shut and I really did things differently. And I, over time, have really developed a lot more empathy for certain people. And I've seen how I am that Karen to some people. I know I am to certain people. And I've really seen my own faults a lot, and it's made me accept other people. So much easier, so much better, and forgive them. And it's selfish. It feels so good. So things can change. Somebody you think you're always going to hate or you have to cut out of your life, um, it can change. And even my marriage has been up and down, but I'm like, I'm just going to hug my spouse every day, and because that's the space we're at. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" At first, he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And now he's hugging me back. So it's you just don't know, and not everybody lives by your rules and principles, and mine have really changed over time. I used to think I was entitled to do anything, park in the handicap spot just for a few minutes or whatever the hell I used to think I was entitled to do. And I think I've really worked on myself, in my opinion. I got, like I said, I have a lot more to go, but um you know things can change, people can change. My message is keep the faith. It can get better. It can get worse if you let it slide. But I'll stop there. So thanks for letting me
No,
go.
I love this. Guys, this is exactly I'm so glad you came up, because this is exactly the kind of conversation I was hoping to have. Knowing what we're bad at, right? Like, I am the worst hangry person you'll ever meet. And I know this about myself. Is I don't get hangry. And if I do, people are like, "Did you eat?" And I say, "No." And so I go eat immediately. And that is the accountability, right? My assistant manager will look at me and go, "You didn't have breakfast today, did you?" And I'm like, oh, is it that obvious? And it's just the way I say hello, even. It's already not the same. And it's simple. And I don't know why biologically I get so hangry, but high protein, my body's happy. And then I'm happier, right? And it's those little things, a hug to somebody maybe you've been fighting with. In that fight or flight mode we get into with an argument, right? When we know that aunt, that spouse, that person, that coworker who's always just going to push your button, you come in with a face ready for them to push your button. And so when I walk in with my eyebrow already raised to my husband, he's like, what are you fighting about? What? Right? And he's like, "Why is that eyebrow up?" And I don't mean for it to be, but I'm like, oh gosh, are we going to fight again? And we've been in those scenes too, right? It's almost 18 years. Of course you fight in marriage. If you don't, you're not talking. There's no way you're communicating and not fighting in a relationship at some point. Now, the level could be, no, we're having, buttered popcorn versus caramel corn or something, right? Like, it could be something silly, but it comes up. And so having that communication, coming in differently yourself, changing what you can't change them. You can't make them hug you first, but can you get the hug? Can you give a hug? Yes. Right. And I love that, because you're controlling what you can about you. I have moments where I'm not well received. I see Kenny coming in, and I know there's Kenneth, there's Kenny, there's Kene, and now I hear this Kenye, and I'm like, if this man,
Oh wow.
Listen, but genuinely, like, even he has his moments where he's like, these are the differentiators for me. Good luck. And I kind of dig it, right? You can't change him, but you can say, please just come with Kenneth. Kenneth Dunner, please come to the stage and join the conversation. I'm calling you out. Hopefully it works. I don't know.
Don't be afraid.
Okay, good. Was everybody else on the edge of their seat too? I'm like, what is he gonna do? What is he gonna do? But I did offer, right? You said Kenya was coming. I'm like, oh gosh.
No, I put Kene to bed at the moment.
Okay. Whew. What's going on? How have you been? What's coming up? You guys are blowing up the chat, which I really appreciate, because it helps. It helps people find us. But also it's funny.
Well, Miss Caramel, I'm
Caramel.
doing caramel.
Caramel.
That's
Caramel.
right. Miss Caramel. I'm doing great. This past April 18th, I celebrated 37 years at my present employer. So I'm very fortunate.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very fortunate to that.
That's huge. Like huge. Nobody does that anymore.
I know. I had to put
Look
that
at
out.
you. Yeah, that's a gold star right there. That's the Olympics. Like who can beat Kenny's run right now
No
on
one.
this track?
No
Nobody.
one. No one.
I bow to you, sir.
But that's okay. I'm with you guys today. I just wanted to say hello. It's been a while since I've seen and spoken to both of you two ladies. And just want to say hi.
Well, hello. Listen, Christine, Kenny, seriously, what's coming up for you guys? Is there anything that you have changed by moving to new rooms or by changing behavior in the same room? I know, Kenny, your personalities can shift, and sometimes I think that's how you take control back.
No,
I
I'm
didn't.
still
I'm sorry. I don't know if you were talking to me. One of my kids was needed me to do something, but I walked
Oh
away.
yeah, no, I was just asking, like, what are those moments where you guys have changed either your behavior in the room or, like I just said, Kenny, he changes his personalities to fit the room
Yes.
as he needs to. And so he was just going to share his perspective, and then we can come to you, like shifting and what that looks like. And guys, if you want to join the stage, come up.
I'm still the same regardless. Um, it's somewhat different these days. I kind of like the old format, but we got to do what we got to do at the moment. And I'm still the same. I can still be a Kenny, Kenneth, and the bitch Kenny can come out when provoked. And that's all I'm going to say.
Oh my gosh. I like to poke at him just for fun because
You
he's the
have.
reason. And you're the reason that Felipe and I do our Sunday show, guys. I don't know if you know this about him, but he's the one. He dared us. He dared us to take it and have a fight in front of the world on LinkedIn. And we
Yeah.
said yes.
Yes.
And that
I
he is
love it.
the chaos facet of the show. That
I love
is Kenny.
I love it.
Kenny.
Keep doing it. Keep fighting. I love a good fight. And you always
You
win
guys,
too.
do I always win? I feel like Felipe thinks he always wins. Where
No.
is Felipe? We can't
He's
talk about him behind his back.
well, he's coming on later this morning. He has a show coming up soon.
I know he always does social Saturdays.
Yes.
I didn't send very many invites out, so maybe
Well,
that's
I
it.
do.
I don't know.
I do that.
Did you invite me, Kane? I don't think so.
You talking to Kenny or Kenny? Which one?
Either. I don't. Usually you forward me everything.
Yeah, like I did for this morning as well. Yes, I did. I will.
So, oh, I feel like I was like, ooh, we have some animosity in the relationship. These are clear. She needs more from you, Kenny. She needs more. She wants to be where you are. I kind of had an Ariel. You just became a little mermaid, Christine, in my brain. You wanted to be
Well,
where his
I've kind
people
of
are.
been MIA in a lot of ways on LinkedIn, so I'll let this slide for now.
You guys, do you feel the shift? I have definitely felt the shifts
Yes.
myself, and I always take time around this time of year away from LinkedIn. Even last year, I was thinking about breaking cycles. I uninstalled the app for 30 days and just let it flatline. Didn't check in. I think I checked twice just to make sure everybody knew I was alive. There were some people, like, emails were coming through saying, hey, where are you? Are you okay? So I'd go and comment again and then disappear. But I think it's really important to do that too. So my question is, when the last time was you actually disconnected from social media for even 24 full hours? Don't all talk at the same time, guys.
I've done it. I've deactivated accounts, and it does, yeah, brings you back to the 80s, like you were saying. Whatever, it brings you back. It's like, it's kind of like, I feel like I miss it, but it's nice to have that space and not be distracted by all the, you get sucked into the hole of Me, I do with the reels, watching one after the other, and then I'm like, what time is it? So yeah.
What about you, Kenny?
I'm still on LinkedIn and still see all the foolery that still goes on, if you know what I mean. That's all I'm going to say. Lots of foolery going on. Yeah, Jeremy,
Oh my
when you
gosh.
call your ass up on stage here, I want to talk to you.
Yeah, I need to know this. I would love to hear more. Jeremy, message me so I can drop you the link, because 2 years is a long time, especially now. And I don't know when that was. Back in 2012, it was easier for me to disconnect from this place. But now I think it's harder to disconnect for long periods from all things. I do think that, and Kenny, I'm going to mute you just for thank you. I do think that doing it is important. I'm trying to read some books, right? Nick is here or was here. She's my publisher, but she's also publishing like crazy, right? She's got a bunch of great people writing with her. And recently she did a book called The Silent Canvas with Jack Torrance. Now, it's a scary thriller. It's really neat. I won't give it away at all because I hate when people do that. But it goes back and forth between two characters' perspectives. So it's almost like playing tennis the whole time. And what I love about it is you're shifting perspectives, right? But what I also found really hard was I couldn't shift into the story because every time I switched perspectives, my brain went, check LinkedIn, check your notifications. And I had to stop. And I was like, what's going on? And I love audiobooks, guys, because I'm a little ADHD. So I like to color or draw or maybe work in Canva on some background stuff that's not really verbal at all. And so I can listen to the words and do some color and kind of just blur the lines for myself. And I think for me, that works great. But when I sat with a book to just sit still and read, I found it so difficult to do. And I don't know if you guys have found this. So I'm going to ask you guys, and you guys can come up on stage. If you need the link, message Kenny. He can give it to you if you're not connected to me. I know that might be a hurdle for some. But join it. What are you finding harder to do now that you've been on notification status for a decade, right? Like at least these cell phones have been beeping at us for a while. How do you disconnect and where do you go to do it? Because I do love the book reading. It's hard for me to do, but I'm working on spending more time doing it. And I have to put my phone down a bit before I sit down to read. So my brain starts to focus on not being on the tech. But another thing I've started to do is twirling baton. They came in from Amazon and it has been so much fun to just play as a kid with something that's like the first ever fidget spinner in my world. And then get into something from that same era. It's like I tap into a brain chemistry or memory that I didn't know existed. So I'm going to come to Christine first, and then we're going to go to Kenny.
What do I do? You mean like your baton thing?
Can you read uninterrupted, or do you find yourself feeling that need for that tech notification status check-in, or are you able to tap into reading? How do you get yourself to do so?
I actually do a lot of audio books like I just feel, I think in my head, but I just feel like I always have so much to do, whether it's cleaning my house or I don't know, catching up on something else, driving my kids somewhere, or I don't know. Lately, I don't feel like I have a lot of downtime. Like this is downtime for me, but I'm cleaning my bathroom sink right now when you ask me that question. So, it would be nice. I think it's something I have to think about. I used to read. I just don't feel like I can anymore. Maybe that's wrong.
Okay, so I got to say this real quick. If you're like me, a little ADHD bunny, I do better cleaning when I'm in an audio event. Even if I'm just listening, having people working, talking around me, it almost engages like that family event where I was at grandma's for Thanksgiving and I was doing the dishes as we were talking and cooking and prepping. When I'm by myself, I don't want to get up and clean. And so it's harder for me to do so unless I have either talk radio, an audio book, or an event going. And so that's a pattern too. But if you know that you're stagnant when you don't have it, being able to focus when you do is great. But how do you not have the audio on? And how do you get your mind to focus on words on a page is the hard part, right?
Yeah, you know what I did start doing? I do find that I can fold laundry. Like I can enjoy folding laundry in complete silence. And it's something I thought I could never do, but it's sort of like a meditation, you know? So it's something that I am trying to practice here and there, but it's just too difficult to do it everywhere. But
I love that.
yeah.
That's a good tip, guys. I also found myself doing word games and the New York Times Games app in silence. I feel like it's the only time my brain gets loud enough that it's cool. Ketty, I want to know how you're feeling, and then we're going to welcome Jeremy to the stage. What do you think?
Well, I think that I needed to come up here and say I absolutely love everything that you guys are talking about this morning. I am a little slow to sunrise and need to get in the shower to get ready to go meet my mother and family for her pre-Mother's Day thing. But I wanted to come up here and say, based on everything you said this morning that I have heard, Melissa, it made me hate the fact that I haven't been listening to you sooner. So I sent you over a request, and I'm grateful that you brought me up on stage. Kenneth, I love you, dude. You're the best. I haven't really gotten to know you. Is it Christine?
Oops. Yes.
Okay. All right. No, you're fine. But I was gonna say, I just I brain farted. My bad.
Well, Jeremy, I'm excited you're here. Thank you for
Yeah,
the
thank you.
compliments. Thank you for all the nice commentary. But I'm going to use this moment to plug it. If you guys don't
All
know,
right.
I have a YouTube channel. I do. I have a YouTube channel out there. And
What's
so
your-
if you missed some of this, I'm going to put it up right now. Get
All
out
right.
your QR code, guys. Look, boom. Just scan that screen right now. If you don't have it, screenshot it. It's cool. Touch it. Do something. You guys are smarter than me. But I'm also document, then act. Shocking. Over on YouTube. It's also in the comments on the event. But guys, my former episodes are there. That's the cool thing about the audio events changing is they made me record them. They did, right? Remember when I used to yell at you saying these are not recorded, you're not allowed? Here we are. So, Jeremy, welcome. Thank you. Tell me about this 2 years of no social media real quick.
2 years of no social media was not something that I wanted to do. I had to do it. Just some issues, trolls, whatnot, troublemakers, that sort of thing. But I found I'm sorry, I apologize. During that time, like all that stress, like when you watch the news, like you really don't want to watch it because there's a good chance something you don't want to see or hear about coming on, whether you like it or not. But you could shut it off. You don't have to listen to it. It was like I felt like I was missing my best friend that I never wanted. I don't know if you felt like that when you decided to just put it away for a while, but for me, I felt like a real like a loss. I don't know if that resonates with you, but I felt like there was something really missing. Like it almost made me feel like, oh, I need this, and that made me really think about it in that 2 year period. And like, how much of this do I really need? And how much time should I really be investing? And if the time that I'm investing on the internet, what's that taken away from my personal life, my family, my friends, maybe some other goals? Because you're not thinking about that when you're all caught up, whether it be your business, with your friends. You have to have some sort of balance in between the two. Because if you don't, you might find yourself so caught up, in fact, that most of your life has passed you by. And I hate to say it like that, but I really feel like a lot of my life has passed me by trying to keep up with others' lives and to help them keep up with mine, but no real transaction of any real sense of wealth, whether it be finances, whether it be business or otherwise. It just felt like for naught. So like it's almost like being in a room barking at a blank wall. It doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't even reflect back what you've said. It just goes into a hole of nothingness. Now, on the other hand, I have switched that train of thought like and modified my online time. Sometimes I'm gung-ho with it. I might be up 16, 18 hours hacking away at loving on people and trying to help that movement along to get more people involved. As far as today, where I'm at with it, Melissa, uh, I'm more intentional and purposeful in what I'm doing, which allows me to not have as much online time because I'm getting better at saying what I need to say and not saying so much of it. So I only need to say it once. That seems to work well for me. How about you guys? I'm curious to
Oh
hear
my gosh.
what you guys have to say.
I love this. I love finding your own rhythm and pace. And guys, it varies for me. When I was doing top 1% of coaches on LinkedIn and I held that title for a year, I was feeding the feed 3 times a day, right? I tell my clients all the time, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's when you feed your feed if you want the most effective growth. Because that's when we pick up our phones, right? We're chewing and we're reading and we're scrolling and we're eating, and it's what we do. But I didn't want to do that anymore. I really like my private time. I like to enjoy my food. I like to take longer to make the food and take longer to chew the food without you guys, kind of thing. And so I shifted to once a day, maybe twice a day. And while I'm not at the top 1%, I'm still in the top 5. That's my goal. And I'm comfortable with that because I'm comfortable at lunch and I'm working another full-time business running that. And we're highly successful and in the top performers, right? And that's beautiful. But I couldn't do it all at once and do it the way I wanted to and feel the way I wanted to. And for me, the feeling matters more. We talk about fun and passion on the show, but Jeremy just stated it, right? Finding that thing that feels right for you is most important. And being passionate about why you need that balance helps you maintain the balance. Oh, I love it so much. Kenny, you invited this guy. How dare you? How dare you? Just kidding. Thank you so much. What do you think about what he just said?
Oh dear, you just poked Kenny just now. um I kind of felt lost or felt like something's missing when things have changed with LinkedIn, but at the same time, I can actually live without it because many of these people that I do know on LinkedIn, I have their phone numbers, so I can always keep in touch. But at the same time, if I don't stay on LinkedIn, I won't be meeting new people that I can keep in touch with. So it's both ways. But it is different, and I just have to make an adjustment and still keep in touch with those I keep in touch with who wants to keep in touch with me. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
I love that. And also let me say hey to Felipe. He says, Ken, have family here with me celebrating my sister this morning and sobriety with brunch and leaving for a graduation. Lots of family celebrations. And also, guys, did you see our last show? Our last show, Felipe announced some really big news about his family and then did a post about it. So if you want to know, go check him out. Also, if you guys don't know, he and I do the show because of Kenny every other Sunday. It is Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. There's also a playlist, I think, on my YouTube channel. And then Felipe has a YouTube channel. So go stalk him. He's stalk worthy. And congratulations to the family, Felipe. Tell him I said hi. So, Chris, what about you? Could you do a no social media? Because as I'm listening, 2 years, I don't think I could, to be honest with you today, the way I've built out my processes and what I like to do, even in the sense that I'm getting older and my memory's getting a little bit fuzzy. The more stuff I put in my brain, the less I can recall automatically. And some I have to dig for. I love Facebook memories. On this day is a pillar of my wake up calls, right? The things I do in my process of waking up my brain in the morning. I love to see where I was 10 years ago, what took place on Mother's Day throughout the generations of years of children, of things, and from me being just a child to me being the mom. Pictures of that have found themselves online because I live so authentically or openly or transparently, whatever you want to call it. But a post, right? And I don't think I'd give that up. That doesn't mean I have to continue to post, but then my memories thin out as I get older. And so it's kind of a balance of they found that hook for Melissa. Did they find the hook for you, Chris? Could you give it up? Do you use those
Um,
features?
it's funny that you said that about the memories. And I actually have really waned on my use of Facebook. I had my kids, be 14 in September, so Facebook was a big deal. Then I hardly have any hard copy photos, like actual photos of my children, and all of them. I know people have different opinions of this are on Facebook, and I'm like, I gotta download I gotta, if Facebook gets hacked or goes down, I mean, I'll have nothing, right? So, but something came up yesterday, and it was a picture from when I got my degree, and I didn't reshare it on Facebook. I put it up on LinkedIn, and it was just a nice reminder of a moment, and just made me stop and reflect, about what that meant, and how I feel like I really got to be a role model for my kids, to go back with a full-time job at my age, et cetera, et cetera. So, um, but yeah, I hardly ever post actively. I've slowed down even on LinkedIn with posting, but I hardly post lately. So I was thinking of what you were saying, like not getting that memory in the future, but also my kids like refuse to be photographed and about giving up all social media. They're on different social media, so I don't think just to keep in touch and know what the heck's going on. That's the way kids, whatever, they do other ways of communicating, but a lot of it is online. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's really good to take a break, and I kind of like what I'm doing right now, like this conversation. I feel like I'm on a phone call with a few people, and I could still, just feels like I'm on the phone with a friend, and I could still do some other stuff at the same time. So I don't know. Well, Jeremy also said something about 16 hours a day. I don't think I could pull a 16-hour day. I mean, it is after a while, sometimes you just want to, it is horrible. You get those little dopamine hits or whatever the hell happens. And sometimes it's like when you eat too much, you don't really want to keep eating, but you do. So yeah, it's something to really be mindful of. That's for sure.
And I love this conversation because I think it comes back to knowing our schedule, right? We talked about looking at a month of spending and the dots in the corner. But if you look at your day, and I've taught to schedule for that 1 hour time block you keep for yourself to do whatever it is you need in that moment, whether it's a nap, you need to tie up that loose email chain that you didn't do, whatever it is, right? But when you look at your time online, it's hard to separate life anymore. To be honest, we're online at work, right? So if we say, hey, I'm only going to be online for 2 hours a day, you're lying to yourself because you've already spent 8 hours plus on the computer at work online. You're constantly connected in a Slack and an email and a whatever it is. And then you add social media. Then you add YouTube, Netflix, streaming services. We are constantly connected. And I think, so if we can't really disconnect in the way we can go outside and be in nature and whatever it is, then maybe we just change how much time we spend in each type of content, right? And so for me, recently, I got back into Bridgerton. I love cruddy TV, guys. And I'm not saying Shonda Rhimes is cruddy, but I love that kind of soap opera effect, right? The drama, the romance, the chaos, the intrigue, and it's got all of it. But I got really mad after season 1 because the people that I was intrigued by disappeared. I was like, well, they're changing the show. I'm not going to do it. So I skipped, then decided I need to just disconnect my brain. I don't want to be on the internet. I don't want to be in Canva. I don't want to even let my brain mindset coach right now. I just want to be distracted. And I wasn't feeling so great last weekend, so I just put it on and I streamed. And I got to tell you, it was so nice just to change that behavior and just melt away into something else. But as soon as I came out of it, do you know how many other ideas came from that moment? And so I think about like, okay, sometimes I'm in audio events. Sometimes I get sick of hearing the same voices, including my own, guys. There's reasons I don't always join other people's stages, is because I know what I would say, but you probably already know what I'm going to say too. So I'm just going to sit and let somebody else's voice have some time, that voice you haven't heard yet, because you pull the audience in an audio event and you can totally have Melissa's idea or Felipe, right? You can guess which side of the coin we might fall on. And so changing that up and just listening instead of giving sometimes can be different. But what are those small changes, right? From receiving to giving, from tuning in to tuning out. What is it that we could do, or what do you do in your life, those small things that maybe you don't even give yourself credit for, going from soap operas to documentaries, or documentaries to financial advice, or whatever it is on YouTube? How do you guys navigate those things, or do you even consider it?
I had something to say, just because you talked about just not going up on stage. And I've shared this before, that I'm in recovery, and I had a sponsor once that told me, maybe you don't have to share at every meeting. Maybe you could just listen. And sometimes, guess what? I learn a lot more too. It's not just that everybody knows what I'm going to say, because believe me, they do. But it's more active listening. And it's a practice also for me to keep my mouth shut. So I even want to talk a lot more sometimes on the stage. And I'm like, I'm going to hit mute so that I don't keep going, or I'm going to set a timer so that whatever, I don't take over the whole thing. So I was bursting while you were talking. So I had to share that.
Oh, I love that though, because we've all felt it. I do it all the time. Felipe is like, shh. And I'm like, Felipe, it's my turn. Shh. Right. Or whatever. Not really, but sometimes. Husband might tell me the same thing, where I could tell by his face, it's his turn to tell about his day, because my excitement is, he heard it all. He heard it. But in the rooms, how many times have we wanted to help, but maybe our help changed the direction of the room? I've done it, even in my own room, where I start on a story and then it takes me away. And sometimes just being silent is the most powerful thing ever. And I didn't realize this until I did sales, right? If you sit in a meeting and you ask a question, and then, or you give them something and you just stop talking and you let that silence, people get clear really quickly. And I think that clarity is so valuable, but it's hard to be clear in today's society. So one of the tips that I want to give, that I use every day for sure, is I have silenced my phone. It does not ring unless it's an alarm. I have alarms that say, hey, it's last call. And that's usually like, you should be at the meeting right now. You should be in the seat at the office right now. And this is like, are you there? Beyond that, though, if my cell phone rings, it rings. If I happen to see my screen change, which like visually it does, right? It lights up, it does things, it tells you it's ringing, then I'll grab it. If I miss it, I miss it. And I used to feel bad for this, guys. I used to be like, oh man, I'm a coach. What if they need me? To be honest, I am not a mental health provider, right? So a coach is not somebody who needs to be on call in that same way. Yes, sometimes it feels emergent, but it's not life-threatening kind of stuff that I'm handling. So I have that little bit of leeway, and I want to be fair, right? I don't give medical advice, so I have a little bit of grace. The other part of it is I remember being in the 80s. I remember you could leave your home and your phone didn't come with you. Like, if you couldn't reach Sally, you couldn't reach Sally. You just kept bringing her phone until somebody finally picked it up. And then if they didn't want to talk to you, they would just pick up the phone and put it down. And for like 2 minutes, they'd hear beep, 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 beep. And then it'd stop. And then they didn't have to hear anything. Kenny, I'm tickling your spirit animal, huh? You remember Grandma would be like, nope, turn the phone off. Turn the phone off. Flip it over. Grandma just turned the thing upside down. Listen, we have allowed people to tap into us just as much as we tap into them. And I think to change that behavior, we kind of have to change us first. So when's the last time you silenced your phone and walked away from it?
Never.
What?
If I don't want to talk to you, I just don't want to talk to you.
Okay. But does your phone beep every time, Kenny? Do you have your notifications on? Because you're a very busy individual also on this.
Absolutely. I do have a lot of notifications from LinkedIn, from Facebook, YouTube, but I always ignore it when I'm busy.
but you hear it. That would
Yes.
drive me crazy. No. All that tinkle of the bells, I am not a fairy, but if I would accept the bells tinkling if I was Tinkerbell. Okay, that's it. Otherwise, can I tell you, it's been like 5 years without noise on my phone. 5 years, guys. I don't even know, but it's been so long. I can't even tell you how long because I don't want to hear it. I
Wow.
have to go find it on this day. Christine, could you shut off your notification? Like, could you just mute it and walk away?
Um, yeah, yeah, I have shut off my notifications before, but what I find is I'm constantly checking anyway. So, doesn't always, I still check probably more often than I have to.
What about the lock boxes? Have you guys seen it where you can store your phone away and set a timer and you
Oh,
have to wait for the timer?
that's a good idea. No.
Could you do it? Would you want to torture yourself? Would you pay to torture yourself? Because truth be told, guys, when you break a habit, it's torture. When you go to the gym that first couple of days, it's torture. When you skip the chocolate cake your friend is eating, torture. But it's worthwhile. If we're so tied to this device, we don't have our hands open for other things.
True.
So what if it's a half an hour, you just tuck it between the mattress? Well, don't do that. It'd probably overheat and burn down the house. I'm all full disclaimer, check with your fire department before you do anything I tell you. But no, genuinely, like, how do you do it? Do you turn it off and set an alarm through Amazon, right? Say, hey, Alexa, tell me when an hour's up. And you just pick up your book and you can't stop until Alexa tells you it's time. Maybe you color.
Yeah, you know what, too? Like, people used to never know where their kids are, and I'm always tracking them on Life 3, whatever. It's like all sorts of things that happen on your phone, or if I use it to listen to music, and then, I could use my Alexa or whatever. I don't have to, I guess. Yeah, my whole life is on my phone, I feel. But, yeah.
That's a powerful little brick we're
Yeah.
giving control to, guys. And I do it too. It's always on me. Always. It tracks my steps. Right? I'm always on, you guys. I'm here. But there's got to be something that pulls us away, because I do have coloring time. Even, yes, music, but headphones, and it's away from me, so I can't reach for it. And all I can reach for next is my pen or my crayon or my highlighter or whatever, right? So what are those small things we can change? Leave them in the comments, guys. And I know Kenny's like, hey, guys, check your DMs. Get up here. If you want to join the conversation, now is the time. We got about 20 minutes left. But we're talking about breaking habits, right? Changing those things that we do all the time. And how do we do it? It's not easy. And it's not always stuff that's like super detrimental on the surface. Like, having a cell phone is very useful. It's so productive. I have all these ways to do all these things. But if you can't walk away from it without going, I would assess why. Is it your spouse? Because that's important. Your children? Sure. Cell phone? Question mark. Right? What would you do without it? If the EMP, right? If something happened and it wiped out tech tomorrow, and we've talked about this for diversifying how you connect. Do you have addresses for friends and family? They used to write correspondence before telecommunications was a big thing. What would you do if tomorrow you had no power to your home across the globe? How would you communicate? What would you do with your time? And would you even know? Or would you break down and like seriously go through withdrawals? Because addictions come in all kinds of forms. And I am totally addicted to my cell phone.
I think I could possibly survive. I don't think my kids could. They don't know how to read cursive even. So they're not gonna do
That's an honest
an
answer.
apocalyptic world where you got to start over. It's not gonna be easy for them. But
well, I mean, that could be a to-do list. Christine, you could be like, all right, guys, put your phones down. Let me show you how to bake bread. This is how we start a fire. Because honestly, I live in Washington State, and my kid, we used to joke, my husband and I, but we're like, we're gonna raise the next John Connor. She's gonna be the female Terminator lady. And Truth be told, my daughter during COVID went in and taught herself how to make macarons from scratch. The French pastries that are really hard to get perfected, she has. Now she's doing beignets. She also does floral arrangements. She can start a fire because we have a wood burning stove. She's done it. She does cookies from scratch. There's times where I tell her about experiences where I'm training my team and I'm like, yeah, they didn't know how to do this one life project, whatever it was. Like mopping was a recent thing where I had to teach somebody how to make mop water. And my kid's face was like, what? I was like, yeah, some kids aren't taught how to do this stuff at home. Their parents take care of it, or they had somebody to take care of it for the family, like a maid. And she just looked at me like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I know, but stop. And then she comes home from even cooking class. She's in home ec or whatever it is, right? I don't remember. It's foods 1. And she's like, they didn't know how to measure, Mom. They didn't even know which measuring cup to use. And I'm laughing because as a grown-up, I just grab whatever cup. I don't care, dry or wet. It's going to go in. It's going to eat the same to me. I'm not running a bakery, right? But my daughter is going to sift her flour. She's going to measure it out. She's going to use the dry. She's going to level it. She's going to do it right. And she gets so frustrated. And it's so funny to see the variables based on what you teach at home. But I'm kind of glad there's diversity. Not everybody's supposed to bake. Not everybody's supposed to do whatever, right? But having the experience to do if the world hits a wall. If stuff hits the fan, if a tornado, a natural disaster, we live in the US, we see it in the South a lot, right? They're always getting hurricane season, tornadoes. What are they going to do? And do we prepare? Are we prepared? How do we prepare? Because genuinely, guys, this mindset stuff, it affects everybody. And if the parents aren't mentally ready to do some of these things, the kids are going to, like you said, they'll go crazy. Now, if you know you're taking your kids on a road trip and you're going to lose signal through the mountains, you have coloring books and crayons for the back seat. You tell them, bring a book. You tell them, bring something to play with, a fidget spinner, right? And so it's all about that preparation. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier of, and I'm going to bring up the imagery if I can get there, because I'm almost there, but it's clarity equals control. If you are clear on the mission, I want to have a good family trip. I know we're going to run into some spots where it's not going to be easy for my kids to tap into the thing that keeps them sane. We download the Wi-Fi free games. We download the movie before we hit the mountains. We bring things that don't need Wi-Fi to keep, they take a nap, bring their pillow and blanket at that time, right? Feed them right before you hit the no Wi-Fi zone so they take a nap. Kenny, Christine, is there anything here that's resonating you want to add to? I'm going to check my DMs real quick, see if anybody wants to join before I close the stage opportunity.
I do remember the days without cell phones. So if I lost mine, I won't lose it. I won't even lose my mind because I don't depend on my cell phone. I mean, I don't walk the streets looking down on my damn phone when I walk in the streets. I look and see around me. I'm very aware of my surroundings. These peeps these days, they're looking down, even crossing the damn street. Do I trust that car is going to give us the right of way as we are pedestrians? We have the right of way crossing the street? Nope, that ain't gonna happen. I look and see you. I see you stopping so I can cross the street safely. That's just how I am.
And I love that. But also, how do you not put your phone down now if you could do it then? Like, what would you do if it hit the fan? Where would you go? How would you spend your days if you didn't have electricity anymore, Kenny? What would you do?
Without electricity or just without my phone in general?
I mean, let's just say a hurricane, right? It knocks it all out, everything. So what would you do? Let's say you're safe, but you don't have any of the things that typically work in the house.
Oh, that's easy. I'll just write my music.
What are you playing?
The guitar.
Or do you just, see? Acoustic guitar? Like you don't even need power. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. That's cool. See, guys, what is that thing you could bring to the bonfire party and do like in the commune circle or whatever? Like, you know what I'm talking about. If I got a little tiny house village, which is in my dream, one day I would love to have like a little coaching space that's nothing but a bunch of tiny house cabins. But in that center, what would you bring that you would do by the fire? There's no electricity, no phones allowed. What would you bring to show creativity? Because honestly, when you tap into that stuff, guys, it's a ton of fun. Even a jar of bubbles. If you are looking for something to just turn your day around, go to the local park with a thing of bubbles and just start blowing bubbles. It doesn't matter who's around, they're going to be grateful. You're going to watch everybody from the 5-year-old to the 75-year-old watch that bubble float across the sky. The kids will start chasing it. The grown-ups are going to smile at you. Everybody's going to pay attention for no reason at all. Same thing happens with kites. People love to watch people flying kites. Get into those moments some more. It's summertime. I love this. You know how many times people look down on their phones without looking at their surroundings.
Exactly.
I'll be honest. I'm kind of bad at this in certain settings. At an airport, I'm never going to be able to identify you. Do not call me into that room because I don't know what Bob looked like. I never looked at him. I don't care. I don't care. At the airport, I don't care. Now, if I'm at a table at the restaurant, the bar, a place where I can go connect and do some engaging, sure. But if I'm in my little seat waiting for them to call me, I don't care about anything but A13. As soon as they say that seat, I'm up, right? But how many other times do you move through life and you're like, I don't see the face? You couldn't tell somebody which customers came to your store that day or which clients you met with. You couldn't pick out people, like if you went to a chamber event or a networking event, you couldn't match the photo and the business card because you were looking at a blurred vision of the person in front of you. You weren't paying attention. There are people who come into my store, and for those who don't know, I run a retail environment for motorcycle gear when I'm not here. Right. And I've had couples come in. I'm like, hey, welcome back. And they look at me like, whoa, you remember us? Yeah. Didn't you come in like 6 months ago or something? And they go, yeah, 7. I was like, oh, well, welcome back. They go, that was our first visit. Okay. And I'm like, well, so what? Right. I remembered them, but it's because I actually look people in their eye. I have the conversation. I listen to why they're there. And when you genuinely hear stories and you connect with people at that level and you're really focused on them, it's easier to recall them, right? And it's hard for me. I'm a face person. I can look at somebody who was a child actor at 5 and tell you, I know this face, and they're 40. Are you guys like that? Or do you find that it's hard to recall people because maybe we're not as focused as we could be in the moment?
I'm always focused.
I was going to say that, there's, I love, well, 2 things. I really like the campfire image thing, and now I want to go camping because I know that even when it's just with my family, we have more meaningful conversations and people aren't likely to pick up their phones. They're just enjoying watching the fire and each other's company. Guitar or no guitar, my husband plays guitar, but it's just kind of really, you're really present and it's really nice, so yeah, we do lose some of that. And that famous scientist or whatever he was, a psychologist or psychiatrist, Dr. Oliver Sacks, who wrote The Awakening, he wrote another book about something called prosopagnosia, where you can lose the ability to recognize people's faces completely, but you would recognize like their voice or their gait or all these weird, like any kind of mannerism they had. It was really weird, It was totally nuts how, like somebody get a brain injury or something like that could happen. But I always make a joke when I did more live client calls and I would forget people's names like crazy. I would be like, oh, I'm great with names. That's why I got into sales. But I'd be horrible. I'd be so terrible with names and faces. And it's because I wasn't paying attention or something. I don't know.
And sometimes it's hard, right? But I have tricks to help me. And it doesn't always work. But, trying to remember some kind of rhyme or remembering, it definitely helps if you have a CRM in sales, guys. If you're in any kind of business and you don't have some kind of note-taking tracking system, you're going to lose. Facts. But if I call Chris and I'm like, hey, Christine, I have great news. That thing that we were working on, we're going to close it this weekend. I'm going to send you all the details. She's like, great. I'm going to go to little Timmy's softball game, but on Monday, I'll be back. Monday, I go, hey, how was the softball game? And that person all of a sudden goes, they remembered the softball game for little Timmy. They remembered Timmy's name. and they cared. And when that happens, you increase your ability to be remembered.
What I do now,
Right?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you could just, I'm on a lot of Teams meetings, and I know there's all these AI note takers, but you could just use the regular transcribe. So not everybody wants to be on a recording, but I'm like, do you mind if I transcribe the meeting? Because if I'm doing a demo, or, there's lots of things that could be distracting. I'm showing a presentation. It's hard for me to take notes or follow, remember the whole conversation and write it down. So most people don't object at all. And it's great, because you could just pop that in your CRM, like it'll be summarized too, because Copilot will, yeah, it's great. Some of the tools today, so you can remember Timmy's softball, baseball game or whatever.
And what's really nice is you can genuinely just listen to the call and be engaged in what they're saying.
Yes.
And not worry about, did I take that down? Did I write it fast enough? Because they keep talking while you're trying to repeat what they just said on paper. And so as you're writing down, you're pushing, not receiving, right? If you think about a sponge, you can't squeeze and absorb at the same time. It's one or the other. And so if you're always doing that with knowledge, having a note taker automatically helping, like an assistant for a CEO. Guys, if you're not using AI to elevate who you are as a human, that's your own fault. Because CEOs hired people to be their assistants to do the exact same thing you get for free from Gemini or the note takers in your Slack or whatever it is you're using, Teams. You have an assistant. You can literally sit there and just watch the face and the mannerisms and be able to see, oh, Melissa raises her eyebrow. So when you run into me at the corporate event and see that eyebrow, you're like, I know you. That's the difference, is where you're putting your focus and time and energy, because you don't mean not to see me, right? You're taking the notes as I speak, but if you don't see me and you don't pay attention in the room when we're standing there right in front of each other, you're losing something. And sometimes you only get one time to be in that room, right? And so think about it. What are those things you're doing the same, expecting different results, changing, breaking those cycles? Are you doing it the way you want to? Are you being intentional with your circles and your overlap, or are you spiraling? Right? Clarity is control. When you know, even if you know yourself. Jay, I got to tell you, you came in a little late, I think, but I want to bring up this image and then I'm going to call you out just a little bit. I'm so sorry, buddy, because I really appreciate this. But look, we were talking about moving in. We were talking about how to bring people closer, be bubbles, and get people to move into our circles and not be edgy towards their circles. And I get how frustrating it is to be in a grocery store and hoping somebody will just move out of your way. You're busy. You got to go. You got to go. But I've also been the lady who's taking a coaching call during my grocery shopping, not because I meant to, but because my client was in distress. And I only had this time to get my shopping done because I'm very stringent in my scheduling time. And it just so happened this person needed me in a time where my phone wasn't busy, but I had stuff to do. And so I'm going to say that even I'm guilty of being on the phone. Now, do I try to hurry? Yes. But what's more important to me in that moment is the person who's in distress. And we never know why that person's on the other end of the line. It could be their medical doctor. It could be their parent who just found out they were diagnosed. It could be their children who are home alone and freaking out and trying to figure out their math problem and the homework's due right now, right? We have to give space for people to live their lives too. And I know it's even harder if you have a disability. So I'm adding that disclaimer because I know, Jay, there's some issues there, right? And so when maybe you're also struggling. And so we have to be mindful to move our bubble out of other people's ways, to try to set good boundaries so we can be focused, get in, get out, especially in a shared space. But if they're not, there might be some reasons, and we got to give room for that too, right? Because I have had horrible news come to me in the middle of events I didn't expect. I was singing a song with my daughter when my mom called to say my grandma passed. I was in the car with my daughter and immediately I had to shift my behavior. Not because I wanted to, but because my emotion shifted and I had no choice but to feel what I was feeling, right? And so we got to be careful. I do think we can move mindfully knowing everybody's kind of carrying a heavy burden and we should be kind. I don't think that's a theme we hear often. And honestly, we like to fight, don't we, Kenny? We like to poke, we like to troll, we like to have fun. But there are moments and spaces for that. And there's other spaces where we just have to be kind and be helpful. And Even saying, excuse me, do you mind if I start my scanning now? Might get them to move a little faster or get them to refocus, because maybe they're ADHD bunnies and they don't realize what they're doing because they're so focused on what they're already focused on, right? So I don't know. Kenny, what do you think about the show? You have been here the whole time and I appreciate all the support. I've missed you. Where have you been?
Well, you invited me.
I don't really invite a lot of people. I just kind of hope all my friends know by now because I'm busy.
I definitely enjoy
So
it.
if you guys are all waiting for invites, please know I'm always going to fail you. Please don't. Just help. Send your friends. Tell your friends. Sign up.
That's what I've been doing. Thank you for inviting me to your show today. And I definitely agree with everything that you just said. And I do give people grace because we're all going through things, you know, lately with what's happening in the world and whatnot, financially, economically, socially, whatever. So I do give people grace. So I try not to have Kane come out and bitch on everyone. So I get that.
Well, listen, we're going to have to go really quick so we can play this promo show out and still end under 2 minutes. Guys, thanks for coming. Go check out documentthenAct.com. I'm here every week. Come see me. Subscribe, follow, ring the bell. Gotta go. Take care.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open doors, spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight and